Welcome into a new episode of the Patriots Hub podcast. Alex, Barth, Matt Dolloff with you from 98.5 thesportshub.com.
Hello.
Getting ready to break down a lot. It was a big news day yesterday for the Patriots. Mike Vrabel spoke at the owners' meetings. He also spoke with our Mike Felger. Eliot Wolf spoke with Felger. He was also on with Kay Adams, the Up and Adams podcast. So a lot of Patriots news came through yesterday, Matt.
No orange juice with Vrabel.
No orange juice.
Truly a new era in New England.
Kind of setting the stage for the offseason. So obviously we start with tackle, which was literally the first question to him yesterday at the presser. So what's going on at left tackle?
It was so quick in the door. The Patriots didn't even get the stream up and running. It was like mid-answer.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the full answer. I don't know if there was somewhere else that I could have gotten that.
They uploaded it with the full one. And it basically, so initially he just talked about the players on the roster, which this is something I think a lot of people have lost track of, and it literally will pick up the conversation we were having when we walked in this room. They don't just need a starting left tackle. They need backups too. Right now, today, April 1st, and this is not a joke, there's only one true left tackle on the Patriots roster, and that's Vidarian Lowe. That's it.
We were going to the offseason like they might need 4 tackles.
Right. It's not even like, all right, well, there's somebody for Vidarian Lowe to compete with. He's Will Smith looking around. Well, I guess there's the right tackles, but like he's looking around that room all alone. Now,
who's John Travolta? Like anybody? Anybody?
Now, Caden Wallace has played left briefly last year, but he did. And that was what Mike Vrabel talked about, was they still think he's going to have a chance to compete on the left side. Eliot Wolf told Felger that they think he's primarily a right tackle, but they like his footwork and athleticism. They think he can play on the left side. That, understandably, I think kind of got some people nervous. But to me, like if they're telling me, all right, it's Vidarian Lowe and Caden Wallace competing for the left tackle spot, alarm bells. Like that's not nearly enough. But the way I interpreted it, maybe this is glass half full, is, well, we need bodies, right? We're going to need backups. Vidarian Lowe can't play on the right side. We saw that in 23. He just wasn't able to do it. He's solely a left tackle. If we can get Caden Wallace, just bring him along on the left side, and then he's our third tackle, so we don't have to carry 4, so we have to carry a backup right tackle opposite Vidarian Lowe. It makes their lives a little easier. So I kind of took that as Caden Wallace. The plan is for him to be the swing tackle, which let's see. I don't know whether or not he can do it, but I think he does have some of the tools where you're not counting on him to start 17 games fine. But I hope that's not going to turn into, well, we took Travis Hunter at the top of the draft and then we didn't like any of the tackles. So yeah, it's Vidarian Lowe and Caden Wallace on the left side.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, can he be Cam Fleming? Like, could he just be something like that? You know,
Adrian
a serviceable
Waddle.
guy. Adrian Waddle. That was the other guy I was trying to think of. Yeah. A guy that could be serviceable on either side.
That'd be great.
Like, look, if that's the plan, if that's what he turns out to be, then they're probably in good shape, because that probably means they have a decent starting left tackle in there. But yeah, like the idea that they're going to try Caden Wallace as the left tackle, or they think he might have a chance to do that. That's like, we're basically running it back to last year, Barth. We're running it back to when they had Vidarian Lowe. They're going to try Caden Wallace.
It's just last year without Chooks.
Noah Okorafor.
Which was most of last year.
Basically the same thing. Yeah, we're still running it back. There's no Noah Okorafor now, Noah Okorafor later. Yeah, like it's you know how I've been.
Yeah.
Like left tackle has been the number one need for the team this whole offseason, in my opinion. And look, they might go through the draft. They might take Will Campbell at 4. It seems like they think he can play tackle. Eliot Wolf seems to believe that anyway. So maybe that's the ultimate solution there. Maybe they trade up into the late in the first round to get a left tackle. Look, I think that was you in your mock draft. You had him taking Josh Connolly from Florida. Maybe they go for a tackle early in the second round. Like I would think they're still going to draft a tackle high. I don't think that they think the plan is going to be Caden Wallace and Vidarian Lowe competing for the left tackle spot. I feel like you're just asking for like this, basically the same problems that they had a year ago, which is unfathomable to me that they would do this at what's been their biggest need for forever. It feels like ever since Nate Solder walked out the door, they've been chasing this left tackle spot, and Isaiah Wynn obviously didn't work out. But like ever
Trent
since
Brown
then
was a roller coaster.
Yeah, Trent Brown gave him a good year.
Well,
at least
they got that one good year from Trent Brown, and then they chased that for like 5 years.
Yeah, they chased Trent Brown. They kept trying to make Trent Brown from 2018 happen, in 2022, 2023, whatever year it was when he finally played his last year here in New England. But like, just the fact that they keep chasing it and they're not, identifying a true, strong, solid solution at that spot, it has me terrified with the way this whole offseason is going, which I otherwise feel good about. Like they addressed the wide receiver spot with the addition of Stephon Diggs. Like that's a real move at receiver. They made it, I think, Morgan Moses, I'll give you as a real move at right tackle. And, Michael Winu is going to move back to right guard. I think that's a real move to say, like, you're back at this spot. You got Josh McDaniels back. So I think that's sort of one of the unheralded things going into the season is that I'm expecting Michael Winu to have a big bounce back. Center, I guess we'll find out, but like center I see as sort of less important than left tackle or the tackle spots. The fact that we still have it's still completely up in the air what they're going to do at left tackle, and there's a thought that they might just run it back with Vadarian Lowe and try Caden Wallace. Like that is frightening.
Well, so now that we've gotten everybody all worked up talking about that maybe being a possibility, Vrabel was then asked after he talked about Caden Wallace, the left tackles in the draft, and this is why I feel better because he spoke very highly of both tackles at the top of the draft, Will Campbell from LSU and Armand Membu from Missouri. Now, he did talk about the questions that come with both of them. For Campbell, it's the arm length. For Membu, it's moving from the right side to the left side. Downplayed both. And this has become a really territorial kind of tribal thing with the draft people and the Patriots fans. What would you rather bet on? Campbell's arm length working or Membu being able to change sides? Both sides will point out there's very little historical context for either. Vrabel doesn't seem to care, at least based on what he said yesterday. It was, you put on the tape, these guys can play. He was a little more, now he was asked more specifically about Campbell, so he got a little more in depth there, talking about, you see him in the SEC against guys that are going to get drafted, but it does feel like, just based on what he said yesterday, either one of those guys they would be comfortable drafting as their potential franchise left tackle.
Well, the thing with Will Campbell is that he's got 33-inch arms, right?
Yep.
The combine's wrong.
I'm standing by that. I'm standing by that.
So Shrine Bowl's wrong.
No, Shrine Bowl's right.
Shrine Bowl was 32 7/8, I thought.
No, so he didn't go to either of the bowls. It was Greg Bedard had a report. Oh,
what was the 32 7/8?
So Greg had that, and then the director of the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy, had reported that he measured in at 32 7/8 last spring at a camp.
Okay, so that was my Senior Bowl connection there.
Okay, so
my bowl connection.
What I think happened there with Jim Nagy and with Greg was he was 32 7/8, and this sounds like a joke. It's not. 20 years old. He's a growing boy. Grew an eighth of an inch in a year at 20 years old.
Well, no, I'm not taking a shot at Bedard or anything.
No, I know
that was just a report then. That wasn't like an official.
It was a report. No, but this is just to strengthen the case about the combine being wrong. Would you believe that? So if Greg and Nagy are right, and the pro day measurement is an eighth of an inch longer than this measurement he took a year ago, it's very believable that, again, a 20-year-old kid,
a little spurt,
grew a little bit,
a little growth spurt.
So I think the report you're referencing, I think, is correct. It's a different number than we got at the Senior Bowl, but I think they're both true because there's a year, they're separated by a year.
All right, let's go down the rabbit hole, Barth. This whole thing that, like, Felger and Maz have been hot on this. We get to hear about this every day being here at the Sports Hub. Is that it's been 25 years since there was an All-Pro, Pro Bowl left tackle with the wingspan and arm length of Will Campbell.
It might be my fault that they're talking so much about.
But my question is, so who was that player, first of all, or did the person only go back 25 years?
I think it's the second one. I think that's where the data set is.
Go back 30 years. What if there's another guy? Like, what if Will Campbell is a generational tackle? Like, he's going to have the wingspan to be an All-Pro, Pro Bowl caliber player. Like, is that impossible? Over an eighth of an inch?
Well, you're the one who at 32 7/8 was saying guard.
Oh, well, I had to stick to my guns on that one. That was just committing to the tape.
But now you're back on tackle.
The conversation's changing.
Yeah.
He's at 33. That's the threshold.
Right?
Well,
this is the thing. Our team's going to use the combine as gospel.
Mm-hmm.
There are probably teams that are going to look at that measurement and say it's 32 5/8. There are going to be teams that maybe second, and I think there are teams that do that. There's going to be some teams that will second guess. And any team that's really serious about drafting Will Campbell, odds are is going to host them for a top 30 and get the tape measure out themselves and just get their own answer.
Yeah, I would do that.
So
no matter what team I am. But like, no, the other thing that changed, Barth, is that he had that awesome press conference at the the pro day where it's like these guys never coached. I like the cut of his jib, Barth.
He's
this is like I go by my instincts a lot on these things.
Yeah.
My instincts is that Will Campbell's going to be a great player because
at what position?
Regardless.
Okay.
What separates the greats from the very goods is that extra
mentality.
That mentality. Like the mentality, like F you, I'm going to go out and I'm going to prove you all wrong. Like you're saying I'm not good because my arms are an eighth of an inch shorter than what you want. Like he'll prove me wrong after, like I was saying for months, like I don't want him because I think he's going to be a guard. What if he's Steve Hutchinson? If Steve Hutchinson was in this draft, would he not be a top 5 to 10 pick?
Well, he might be, but there'd be people saying you can't take a guard that high.
So there's the voice. But this is like a different draft. Like, I tend to go year to year with these things.
As you should.
Of course, last year, 2021 draft, which is loaded with offensive prospects. No, you're not taking a guard that high. But if this is a Hall of Fame left guard potentially, I don't know. I feel like you could potentially justify it. But I don't know. I think I'm going by the 33 inches. If the team feels that he can play tackle, they go by the tape where, yes, he played in the SEC. He played against guys that are going to be in the NFL. Like, look, maybe he's not going to be a Hall of Fame left tackle. Maybe he's not going to be an all-pro or Pro Bowl based on whatever that data is because of the wingspan. I'm taking a good left tackle. I don't care where you're getting it. Get a good left tackle, for God's sake.
There's been a lot of people that when I bring up the arm length, and let me be clear on this, talking about something is not agreeing with it. The arm length is a big part of the conversation around him. You do need to discuss it. That does mean I agree it should be weighted as much as maybe some people do. But whenever I bring it up, there's a large contingent of people that will simply be like, who cares? Can he play?
Exactly. And that's sort of my point. It's like people are going to forget about the fact that he was drafted 4th overall. If he turns into a good long-term, if he's a good left tackle long-term, who cares that he was drafted 4th overall? Like, he worked out.
And I think that's kind of what Vrabel said yesterday. Maybe not that last part, but like, can he play? Right. Look at the tape. He can play. There you go. And we'll try him at tackle. People compare it to other instances of guys moving inside, but he is, I think, right on that line. And if you look at the tape, he can play. How do you feel about the possibility? But let's say louder voices in the room went out. No, we're concerned about his arm length or whatever. Right. I don't really think there's a shot where he goes above them and they would be limited to just Armand Membu. Honestly, if that happens, you're probably taking Travis Hunter, who we will get to. But let's say the louder, there's people in the room worried about his build. Armand Membu, who doesn't have ideal tackle build either, by the way. He has the arm length, but he's 6'4". He's a little more stout, I guess would be the word. He's built more like a guard.
If you take the extra inches, I'd rather have it on the arms than the height.
Okay.
Personally.
Well, so, and that's not the main concern with Membu. It's he's moving from the right side to the left side, which in the NFL right now, there's really only one guy that's done that, been a primary right tackle in college, and then moved to the left side successfully in the last 10 years. That's Tristan Wirfs. Saw a couple players try that last year, struggle. The Titans just had to give Dan Moore the worst contract in free agency so they can move J.C. Latham back to the right side a year after taking him. Yeah. How do you feel about them? And now Caden Wallace is different. He's not the player Membu is. Chuks Okorafor is different. He just clearly didn't want to do it. So it's not exactly apples and apples, but they tried this last year. It didn't work. It's been tried around the league. It generally, not always, but generally does not work. How would you feel about them drafting Membu at 4 and trying to move him to the left side?
I wouldn't like that either, because I just think logically speaking, if you're good enough to play left tackle in the NFL, that's where you're going to play in college, right? Like maybe you go case by case. Like was the left tackle on Membu's team, like was that a guy that he couldn't beat out that guy to play left tackle?
It was in 23. It was a guy named Javon Foster Walker. He was they had a really good tackle who was like a year or two. Membu was originally recruited as a guard. Played guard in high school.
Then I don't want to
and
play
then
left tackle.
He won the right tackle job as a true freshman and never gave it up. So
I just feel like it's at the very least you're talking about a year of development, like just trying to figure out how to play that set. It's not easy. It's not like, oh, you just flip it. You know, it's not that simple.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's not. He does have the athletic profile where, like, I'd be more comfortable with them trying it with him than a guy like than with Wallace last year. Like, Wallace was a right tackle. I thought that was, yeah, at least a year one. Can he, like I said, can he be a swing tackle eventually? Yes, maybe. But year one, he was a right tackle. Armand Membu has the athleticism and the experience where maybe he can carry over. I still think it's risky, but so, like, you got to pick which risk are you rather taking, short arms or out of position? If you need a left, because it drops off. It drops off. Now you're going to the next tier where if you say neither, you're going to the next tier where it's Josh Simmons coming off a torn patella tendon, Josh Connerly and Ariante Ursary, who are kind of like higher floor, low ceiling guys who I think can start at left tackle year one, but I don't know that either's a franchise guy. And then it drops off to like just true project players.
Yeah.
And Kelvin Banks is there in the middle. Maybe if you trade down, he's kind of the wild card in all this, but like, which one is it? Would you rather short arms? Because you can't grow. Like, he might keep growing, but you can't fix that. Moving sides is a tough process, but it's not like something that you're physically inhibited from doing.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, like I'd be okay if they went the Connerly, Ursary route. Maybe if they took a chance on Simmons or Banks, like if they trade down.
Yeah.
They take them later in the first round. It just, to me, it goes all the way back to the overall roster construction. Like, I'd feel a lot better about a guy like Ursary or Connerly if they brought in a more reliable veteran guy to play left tackle in the meantime. Like Tyron Smith and DJ Humphries are still out there. I'm not saying those guys are, long-term answers by any means. Like maybe they only have to play half a season until your left tackle is ready to step in there. And I don't think they absolutely have to take Campbell or Membu with that fourth pick. But I do think it's got to be one of these guys early on. And like, I think once they take those guys, then we can look at the overall roster construction and how did they do? Like, it goes back to the Vidarian Lowe thing, Barth. Like, I just can't believe we're going back to this because it's like, it's almost like, how do you look the fans in the face and say, we're going to give this guy, is it a third year? Yeah, we're going to give this guy a third year.
And Eliot Wolf talked about at the combine, like learning from the mistakes they made last year.
It's nothing personal against Vidarian Lowe. Like he's a good guy and all that. And like, I feel like he's trying. I just don't think he's good enough. But like, we're going to give this a third try. Like, okay, see how it goes. But like, if they're going to do that, they better draft one of these tackles early. Like if it's not Campbell, it better be a guy like Ursary or Connerly. And like, you could develop him and then move him in maybe halfway through the year if Vidarian Lowe proves finally once and for all that he can't really stick there left tackle long term. Then you have your Commanders plan where like not that Brandon Coleman stepped in and he was an all-pro, but they drafted him. They took a year or half the season basically with Cornelius Lucas at left tackle, and then finally they put Coleman in there after they developed him for a little bit. So like I wouldn't be against that plan. It's just risky that they're looking to Vidarian Lowe to be that Vidarian the Vidarian Lowe to be the veteran stopgap there.
Well, if there's a chance that they might need to take one of those second tier tackles, if Travis Hunter falls to 4, because Mike Vrabel and Eliot Wolf both sounded very excited about the idea of having Travis Hunter on their football team yesterday, which interesting nugget in that we'll get to, but they both kind of, the question is if they draft Travis Hunter, like how to use him. I think we got a pretty clear plan on that yesterday. And Eliot Wolf, in talking to Kay Adams, said it would be mainly up to the coaching staff, said he thinks, and he told Felger, I think his word was, he didn't want to say waste, but not making the most of Travis Hunter if you don't have him.
Wouldn't maximize
him playing both ways. But he did kind of mention, and Vrabel mentioned it too, and Vrabel went a little further in this, that he is going to probably need a primary position. And there are details that he's going to need to focus on, that he's going to need to get better at the next level to truly compete. I think it was Vrabel who talked, or Wolf said, he's going to probably need to major in one position and minor in another. And Vrabel kind of laid out this plan where you put him at one spot, you let him develop there, and then once you're happy with where he is at that point, at that position, then you start to put more on his plate, and that's where the two-way comes in. So 6 months, a year, 2 years in, that's where you start to do it. I love that. That's what I've been pitching for Travis Hunter all along. You draft him as a receiver, you develop him as a receiver, and then when you're comfortable where he's at as a receiver, then you start to mix in some defensive assignments, and that could be any different number of things that, we could get into. But I love the plan they laid out for Travis Hunter if they take him. I think they have that thing figured out.
Yeah, so this is where I do like the plan that they've put together,
Yeah.
Not just with the potential of drafting Travis Hunter, but how they've built the roster where they signed Carlton Davis. Now they have their 2 starting corners.
Right.
Now you can afford to draft Travis Hunter as a receiver and develop him. And that's also with Stephon Diggs. Like, you don't have to immediately insert Travis Hunter as your number 1 wide receiver because, yes, he's a physical freak, very athletically gifted. He's got the ball skills already, but just a little unrefined with route running and things like that. Like, he just needs time to work on that stuff. And I think he could definitely develop into a very, very good wide receiver because he's got that high end athletic ability. And that's another guy that I sort of like his attitude from from the press conferences I've seen. And just like, I think he has the potential to just be that sort of great player that can separate himself with those mental aspects on top of the physical ability. So like, yeah, I really like Travis Hunter for the more I've gone on, the more I've learned about him. Like, I was sort of out on him initially, saying like, he's overrated because of the two-way thing. Yeah. He's only going to play one position. He's not going to be elite at either. I'm sort of walked back on that one. Like, I feel like, yeah, the elite athletic ability is there. He might just need a little time to develop. But yeah, like the cornerback moves, I've sort of allowed them to do that. They don't have to immediately put him into that, main major role, which I do like about that. And like, hopefully he does fall. It feels like maybe the potential for that continues to grow. I don't think the Giants are going to be the team that takes Shedeur Sanders at number 3 and sort of allows Travis Hunter to potentially fall to 4, but they could trade out. Like, maybe there's a team that really wants, maybe there's multiple teams that really want Sanders and they have to move up. So like, that's, I guess, what you have to hope for. But I do like the plan that they've sort of laid out for the potential of bringing in Hunter.
And to go back to the team building thing, with Diggs as well, and both Vrabel and Wolf talked about Diggs' versatility and his ability to play all 3 wide receiver spots. And with Hunter, I don't think he's an X. He can definitely play some Z. He can definitely play some slot. Like, you can get creative with his usage and figure out where he's most comfortable. So having a guy like Diggs, who you can also move around, is going to allow you to use Hunter how you really want to use him as a wide receiver. So that versatility comes up big there as well. They sounded excited. Like, if he's there at 4, and I don't know that this is, I think to a lot of people, this is like no doy, but I think he's the pick if he's there at 4. I don't know that they're going to get tempted with a tackle. Now, the question is, will he be? You mentioned the Giants. The Giants are in a unique spot where if it is Carter or Hunter, or if, they don't want a quarterback or whatever, they're probably going to take Travis Hunter over Abdul Carter. He makes a lot more sense for them than Carter does. The one thing the Giants have going for them is their front.
Pass rush.
They have a solid front. Whether you and you can make the argument both ways. They don't really have great cornerback play. You also could say Malik Neighbors next to Travis Hunter. That's just electric. Those 2 guys with Jameis Winston is going to be much must-watch TV. So you could argue it either way there. So that's probably going to be the roadblock. I think what is going to need to happen for the Patriots in precisely this order is Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Shedeur Sanders. I think that's the only way the Patriots are getting Travis Hunter. I don't know what would happen if the Browns take Hunter at 2. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think if the Browns aren't taking a quarterback, part of the issue that Myles Garrett had, or it was reportedly out there, was like he wanted somebody to rush opposite him to take some of the pressure off of him. Travis Hunter's not going to do that. Abdul Carter is most certainly going to do that.
Oh yeah, I think the Browns take Ward if he's there and Carter if he's there. I think it was Field Yates that said recently that Abdul Carter's a possibility for the Browns at 2. ... Like, maybe he's hearing a little something there.
Yep.
So yeah, no, it feels like Cam Ward's going to go 1 to the Titans. He was talking about solidifying his spot, openly in interviews. So it's like, feels like he's sort of solidified, as he said in his own words. And so, yeah, it'd be very interesting if the Browns take the dive on Carter or Abdul Carter. But yeah, it's really going to come down to that number 3 pick. And you just really got to hope that there's multiple teams that want to move up there and get Sanders to sort of jump other teams that are after the Patriots in the top 10. Like, that's going to be the top thing to watch. Really for everybody at the top of the draft, but certainly for the Patriots, since they're right there at 4.
It does kind of feel like the Sanders hype is cooling off, doesn't it?
I mean, I feel like there hasn't been much hype for him like in the last year.
That's
like,
true.
I feel like ever since like there was a time where people thought he could go number 1 overall, right? And like there hasn't been any of that in the last, several months maybe.
Yeah, so like, what was it? Dion came out the other day and was like, I don't care where he ends up. That's when you know.
Wow.
Because Dion cares.
Oh, yeah.
But I think he'd like him in New York, and you're still seeing the videos of him like hyping up the Giants and stuff. So maybe that's what the Patriots need the Giants to want to just conglomerate. I don't know what the right word is. That quarterback room.
Well, here's the thing. Like, are they gonna? They have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Are they gonna draft Shedeur Sanders and he's gonna be the 3rd string quarterback, or Jameis Winston?
I think Jameis would be the 3rd string. I think Russell Wilson would be their Jacoby Brissett. Shedeur's the 3rd string. And then Jameis is just there for vibes, I guess.
Yeah, he's the vibe guy. Yeah, he's the ideas guy.
I don't remember if I said it on this show with you, but I said it on a show that Daboll and Joe Shane are desperate, right? They really should not have kept their jobs. They're on the hottest seat in the league. They need to win this year. They're not going to do that without something working at quarterback. And I wonder if they are taking essentially the same approach that the Patriots took at tackle last year, which was, well, we can't get a great player, so let's just get as many players as possible, and odds are one of them will work out. We're just going to throw as much against the wall as possible and see what sticks. Isn't that what it felt like the Patriots were doing at tackle last year?
Oh, yeah.
And doesn't it kind of feel, doing that at tackle is one thing, like that's not great, but doing that at quarterback is wild.
Yeah, that is wild.
So people
are the biggest market in the league too.
Right. So, people might listen to that and say that's a ridiculous take. Nobody would do that. Teams get dumb at the quarterback position. Teams get really stupid at the quarterback position. Right. It happens all the time.
You're not saying it's the right move.
Right.
I know it sounds crazy.
Add in the desperate state of the organization. Yeah, they're probably like, I wouldn't be surprised if they're going off the grid a little bit, if they're going outside the box. So I'm not ruling anything out with the Giants. If you tell me they take a quarterback at 3, if you tell me they're going to bypass at 3 and take a 38, if you tell me that they're going to draft 2 quarterbacks, if you tell me they're going to draft no quarterbacks, I think the only thing at this point that the Giants could do to surprise me at the quarterback position is sign Aaron Rodgers. I think anything short of that, I'm leaving it all on the table. I'm leaving all options open.
Think about that quarterback room.
Jameis, Wilson, and Rodgers.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Goodness, that would be something.
I still think they take Hunter. At least for the reasons you laid out, but I guess that's the logical choice. And like you were just saying, like teams just get illogical at this point.
They get nuts.
Time of year.
And then the Kirk Cousins thing is out there too. So that's the other thing. There was a report this morning. Let me find this actually.
Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
To the Giants?
Well, I think to the Browns. Was more the conversation. Yeah, a couple people, Diana Rossini, Albert Breer, a couple reporters had this that like Kirk Cousins could get traded and he has familiarity with Stefanski, and does he go to Cleveland and is he the answer there? So now you totally take Cleveland. Cousins isn't going there if he thinks they're drafting another quarterback, not after we went through last year with Michael Penix, right? So you take quarterback out of the equation there. Now that's going to be Abdul Carter. And then for the Giants, it becomes as simple as Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to make your decision as easy as possible, then I guess that would be the move.
Yeah. Anything else stand out from yesterday? I know Mike Vrabel.
I hate the anything else question, Barth. I can't think of one on the spot.
I can run through some quick hitters. Mike Vrabel said that so first off, he said that they still believe in Ramondre Stevenson. They feel like they can help him. The ball security needs to be better, but they feel like they can help him. That's going to drive some people nuts. I'm actually okay with that because it's not like it's a career-long issue. He fumbled 7 times last year, but he fumbled 7 times total his entire career up to that point, 3 years before that.
Okay. You actually made me think of something, but okay. Finish.
So I don't hate that, but he did say they would like to draft a young running back. Is that pass catching back? It sounded like more of a complimentary player. So I'm thinking they're probably looking at speed backs, and it's something where Stevenson is going to be your kind of ground and pound body blow running back, which he should have been. And then it's either that it's going to be that, Sony Michel, James White dichotomy, or maybe it becomes more of a lightning and thunder thing where they're both going to play a good amount. They're both going to play through multiple situations, but You're going to have your body blows guy, and then when you're wearing the defense down, you put the track star in and you try to get him going on a big one. So if that's approach a running back, anything where it's like, I've said, I feel like I'm a broken record on this. Ramondre, less carries will make Ramondre Stevenson a better player. It's not saying he sucks, give him the ball less. It's he's been one of the most used running backs in the NFL the last few years. I don't think he's not that caliber of player. He's not Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey. I think you're going to get more out of Ramondre Stevenson if you run him less. Like there's a happy medium there. 16 to 18 carries a game. You're going to get more out of those carries than if you're running him 25 to 30 yards a game and he's worn down by the time you get to Halloween.
Yeah, no, less is more.
Yeah,
exactly. Like Derrick Henry is just an all-time freak,
right?
But you saw what happened with Christian McCaffrey. He can't.
Yeah, he can't really do it either. He did it for a couple years, but not long term.
So you made me think of it. You actually mentioned Derrick Henry. I think it was with Felger where Vrabel basically said, like, I had that offense in Tennessee built around Derrick Henry because we had Derrick Henry. It wasn't because I'm this old school guy where I'm going to run the ball down your throat and we're going to ground and pound our way to victory. That was just he tried to make it work with the personnel that he had. And so I think that's interesting because you look at the Patriots personnel, and you got Drake May, so he's going to look to throw the ball. I don't think he's going to take this roster and turn Drake May into a guy that just hands it off and occasionally throws the ball. I think he wants to be a passing offense, which I think is a good sign.
Well, and along those lines, he was asked about Tyler Warren and basically said, how many tight ends can we put on the field, right? Bring me all the tight ends. So I'd kind of been downplaying.
Former tight end himself. Really.
That's right. He reminded Felger he caught almost as many touchdowns in a game once as Felger his whole senior high school football season.
Felger said, if I had size, speed, work ethic, and discipline, I would have been great. Oh, that's it? Just that? Okay.
He had the hand eye.
He had the elite hand eye.
Right.
That's all he had.
Hockey player. So anyway, Ray was talking about the tight end position and talked about them being multiple and playing multiple tight ends and playing multiple running backs and 12 and 21 personnel, which is great. I want them to be more multiple. I've been downplaying that third tight end need though, because in my mind, it's all right, well, Hunter Henry has the best chemistry with Drake May. He's arguably your best pass catcher, definitely until Diggs gets back. And you're not going to take him off the field. Okay, so you're going to use Hooper in 12. How much are you going to use 12? That third tight end's a real developmental position. Both those guys are over 30. You want to get somebody in the pipeline, but that's more pick for down the road. But are they going to try to play 13? Are they going to kind of move things around where they have, they're using different tight end packages, especially if you get a guy that is more experienced lining up in the slot or one of these more multiple tight ends? Maybe not Tyler Warren at the top of the draft, but a guy like Mason Taylor, going further down, a guy like Terrence Ferguson, somebody like that, Gavin Bartholomew. I guess my takeaway from that answer was there might be more snaps available to a rookie tight end than I initially kind of had assumed there would be. So maybe in my mind, picks at 4, 38, 69, 77, unless you're taking a guy like Ozzie Trapillo, your future right tackle to replace Morgan Moses, the guys you take in those picks need to play a somewhat significant role this year. Right. And would a tight end do that behind Hunter and Hooper? I thought no, but maybe the answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean, Hooper's not a long-term answer. He's here for on a one-year deal.
Yeah.
He's no lock to play a major role on the team. Henry is a guy that I'm happy to keep a Patriot the rest of his career. If he wants to stay here, seems like he wants to, play out his years here in New England. Feels like he's settled. So I'm happy to keep him long-term, but they still need sort of a long-term answer at that position. That's how I look at it, where it's I'd be open for them with them drafting a tight end, at an appreciably high spot because you don't really know what you're going to have beyond this coming year. Really.
Right.
Even if Hunter Henry stays a Patriot his whole career, is he going to be as good of a pass catcher as he's been at 33, 34 years old? That's the way I look at it, is that I just think they need an answer there. And it's great if he can play as a rookie, but I honestly look beyond this year.
So I guess I was looking at it more in the sense that with so many immediate needs, right? With that, you're maybe not needing that guy for a year or two down the road. Can you draft that guy next year? Can you draft that guy the year after? But if there's going to be more of a role for him this year and you can continue to develop him, you can make more of a significant investment, I think, at the position.
Yeah, no, I'd be open to whatever they want to do at tight end at this point, because like you said, we don't have the long-term answer, and I don't think they're a lock to do much in the short term with what they got either.
We had Eliot Wolf with Felger. Again, we're just kind of rapid firing through some of the stuff from yesterday. It was a busy day. Eliot Wolf with Felger talking about the change in the defense. And you wrote about this early on in the offseason about how they were going to update the defense to more what Vrabel did in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Eliot Wolf downplayed that a little bit. Felger asked him how much the defense would change, and he said slightly. It's mainly the emphasis on speed at linebacker, which is mostly where we have seen them change. They got rid of the two gapping nose tackles, but and then Wolf said speed and violence overall is what's been preached on defense. I know you love to hear that, speed and violence, but maybe it's not. We thought it was going to change, but part of that Tennessee defense is zone, but they add Christian Gonzalez, or they add Carlton Davis to Christian Gonzalez. So you have these two big-time man corners, and then you add Eliot Wolf, talk about Milton Williams, and he still can two-gap if they need him to. Maybe this is going to be like a mashup of the two, where it is those core Belichick philosophies, but with a quicker, more aggressive front.
Yeah, I don't see it with the Belichick part. I tend to believe Vrabel on this one. You go by the personnel they brought in.
So you think Wolf's underselling the change?
I think he's underselling.
Okay.
I think he undersells almost anything he says. So it's like I go by what Vrabel did, and I go by what their actions more than their words, and their actions in terms of bringing in the speedier linebackers, Milton Williams. Like speed and violence, yes, but it's going to be an aggressive one gap defense. I think they're ripping the Band-Aid off with the Belichick era, and like Mayo was sort of a continuation of that. I think that's over. It's behind them. Jawan Bentley's gone. David Andrews' offense, but Jawan Bentley gone. Dietrich Wise gone. Jonathan Jones gone. They are turning the page, and it's going to be all new defense, I think.
I think that's all the big points from those two yesterday, right? I know you wrote about
covered about everything.
Vrabel talking about Andrews and Bentley moving on, which he hadn't addressed yet. How about the one? So Robert Kraft spoke this morning. It wasn't a ton there football wise. He did talk about the plane and that they're trying to improve the planes. But
I heard about the ashtrays. I'm sorry.
The big news out of that, Bill Parcells, Patriots Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think he should be in. Like, I think with the way he completely turned around the franchise, like I was too young. You and I were both too young. You were literally a baby. I was too young to, really comprehend how bad they were in the early 90s. But for him to turn them around into contenders within a year or two, like you draft Drew Bledsoe, you have that awesome draft with Ty Law and Ted Johnson and Curtis Martin, like to really almost overnight, basically, when you talk about a 2-year span and in 40 years, to turn them around and make them into a real contender and bring them to a Super Bowl. Like, I think he deserves to be in the Team Hall of Fame. And look, I get it that like the way he left a sour taste in people's mouths, and they went on a 4-year decline there with Pete Carroll in the first year of Bill Belichick, and it took Tom Brady stepping in for them to really turn things back around again. And so I get that, but it doesn't end well with anybody. Like, I know it ended particularly bad with Parcells, but like who does it end well with? It didn't end well with Belichick either. Like, Belichick and the way things went in his last couple of years probably let the sour taste of people's mouths. I get it. 6 Super Bowls versus 0, but I think he deserves a spot in the Patriots Hall of Fame. Like, I just think he deserves that spot. Not that he was the greatest coach in Patriots history. That was obviously Bill Belichick.
Well, he was until Bill.
Yeah, like, he deserves the spot. I think he deserves the spot for just based on those accomplishments. Just the fact that the way he left for the Jets, like, that sort of ruins the whole thing. Like, I don't really believe in that. I think Kraft's sort of learned over the years that that's,
I think putting him in as a contributor is the right way to do it.
Yeah. Because
it's not so much about, I don't want to say it's, anybody you're putting in the Hall of Fame, it's about lasting impact, right? But it's more about the direction he turned the franchise in than what he accomplished in those 4 years, and bringing some legitimacy to it, bringing in Bledsoe. Like, obviously the dynasty run, Brady, Bill, Scar, Bruschi. I mean, we go on and on, right? Like, those guys get the credit. But if it's not for Parcells and Bledsoe, is it the St. Louis Stallions winning all those Super Bowls? Right.
That's
so,
true.
or Hartford
Whalers.
at least, right? So I have putting him in as he was never going to get voted in. Part of it is the resentment from the older portion of the fan base. Part of it is the younger part, because it's a fan vote, at least partially. The younger part of the fan base doesn't know who he is.
Yeah. And
they're going to keep voting for guys like Logan Mankins and Adam Vinatieri and Julian Edelman and all these guys. Right.
It's like the Veterans Committee with the baseball.
Veterans Committee. This is the right way to do it. Now, I'm curious who they'll put in with him. It'd be cool if it's one of those older guys that he brought in. Vinatieri should be in. They need to get that done. Off the top of my head, I think he's the biggest snub right now. I know Mankins needs to get in as well, but I have no problem with them putting in, especially as a contributor. I think that makes all the sense in the world.
Wait, people are that against Parcells. So like, we're going to pretend that Patriots history began in 200001. Like, is that
a lot of people would tell you it did?
I feel like that's basically what people are doing. None of that happened. Nothing happened before that.
Or whatever it is, April, 15th, 2000?
Yeah, no, 2001 Patriots, first expansion franchise to win a Super Bowl in the first year.
So some thoughts on that. Have some tuna for lunch today or something. I don't know. That'll do it for us on this episode of the Patriots Hub podcast. We'll have more coverage leading up to the draft and off season on 98.5thesportshub.com.
Going to do some grocery shopping in honor of Bill Parcells.
There you go.
Today.
go get your. I actually am going.
And I'm going to cook the dinner.
I actually am going grocery shopping on the way home today.
There
So
you go.
I am going to go pick out my own groceries today. After I get more up on 98.5thesportshub.com, you can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Dolloff. You can follow me at Real Alex Barth. If you want more episodes of the show, Patriots Hub podcast, wherever you get your podcast, it is also up on the Sports Hub YouTube channel. So until next one, we'll be back next week. Until then, for Matt Dolloff, I'm Alex Barth. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.